Hello, everyone. I wanted to say hello to everyone who's joining us. This is a webinar about InQI Foundation. I'm Ali, by the way, with InQI and also based in Re. Some of you guys know my construction company as well. Thank you for joining this webinar. There are a few people calling in, or actually joining in, sorry. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we go forward. I have two screens here. There's a screen on this side. When I turn my head this way, that's because I'm looking at a second screen. Nadine, some of you might know, is on the users on the login, and she's monitoring the chat box. If you have any questions, post it in there. I've muted the system so that things don't pop out, and that way we can go through with this webinar. The purpose of this webinar is the introduction of InQI Foundation. This is a new release. Some of you guys have access to InQI already for several months. So InQI now has two platforms or two levels. One level is InQI Foundation, which is everything you need to know about a site. The site is an address. It's a project, residential only, nothing commercial. In this process, you get to know what is possible, with InQI Foundation. We will have sessions on InQI Designer as well, but let's talk about InQI Foundation today. No question is a wrong question, so please go ahead and ask in the chat box. When there is one on the screen that pops out next to me that you're asking it, Nadine will raise my attention, and I will respond to your questions as much as we can. So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen and get access. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my entire screen and we'll talk about it. It's easier that way, and we go through it. The room is open, so you might hear dings that people are joining in. I think I made it so it doesn't, but just in case, we have a few people joining in as well. But let's get started on that. So I'm going to share my desktop. And let's go through it. Let's minimize this one. And there we go. All right. So what we are working on is the ability to figure out where we are with InQI Foundation. This is not released yet. Today is October 3rd, and this will be released 1st of November. If you want access to this one, do send me an email afterwards or send Nadine a text. We'll give you access to this one as well. It's not released to general public yet. The purpose of this webinars is to get you guys to know the product and go from there. Now, a few things, just so that you are aware of it. InQI has two platforms, like two levels right now. What you're seeing is InQI Foundation, and then what you will see in the future is InQI Designer. Both is the same product, licensed differently. There's some features that are available for InQI Designer that are not available in the Foundation. We'll talk about it. The Foundation is required for all these different levels of InQI. There will be an InQI architect coming up afterwards and so forth, but learning the Foundation is the most important thing, as it is with everything, right? In construction, what's the most important thing when you build a home is the foundation, right? So you start with that, right? So this is the same thing, it's InQI Foundation. Let's go ahead and get started. So a couple of things I'm going to use. You're going to see InQI. I have Zillow open on top. You see, is for me to get addresses. I don't know all the addresses that I want to get. Talking about that, let's set some boundaries, I guess. How InQI works. So number one, InQI is available throughout the United States, right? So any US address will work. That will take us to number two. The US addresses that work have to be residential addresses, right? You can pop in a commercial address, it will find it, but it doesn't have the logic of what to do with it. So two things, US addresses throughout the United States only. We don't support any other country yet. And it has to be residential. That's the second part, right? There are some size limits, right? In this great country of ours, there's plenty of land. Some of them are, acres and acres. We have tested it to 30, 40 acre lots, and that's plenty. But we always get this one or two, and there's a huge property or a farm, and I don't know, 500 acres. It will still work, but it will take a while. It has to take 500 acres of data, right? It's a lot of data. Just have those things in mind. All right, let's talk about InQI. Other things will pop into my mind, and if you guys have questions, you can ask, and I will answer them. There was a question, actually, I just noticed that there was a question that was asked. I think I mentioned it, but I'll mention it again. Currently, InQI is free, right? So when you sign in, and we'll talk about it shortly, you will get 1 credit. I might try to put that at 3. What's a credit? A credit is a project, it is an address, right? So that's what it is. You want more, we'll give them to you. Just send us requests, and we'll send them to you. As we all know, and also in this great country of ours, nothing is for free, right? So what I mean by that is this: we'll have to turn on the licensing of InQI sometime in 2025. It's just simply every address, every time we do things is costing us some money, and we just got to recover that. And otherwise, there will be no InQI, that's for sure. InQI is a startup. You, as an early adopters, will have a lot of opportunities to formulate how it works. We have plans that we haven't announced yet, but I'll give you a hint. You, as an early adopter, could also be an early shareholder of InQI, having options with InQI. So as InQI grows, your contribution to InQI is acknowledged, and you will be a shareholder of InQI. We'll talk about that later when it becomes more available. Believe me, there is value in what you do for InQI, other than using it. So those are things to have in mind, and let's just get started. Sorry about this little bit long introduction, but I want to make sure everybody have the same level. So yes, it is free for now. We probably turn on monetization as it's called, monetization, in January, February timeframe of 2025, right? Until then, we're going to try to keep it free, and we're going to give you credits. Right now, I think you get 1 credit when you sign up, but we can add more. So how do you sign up? You go to the page, and like I said, I can give you access to this pre-release, but it's the same thing on a regular release. Some differences on this one and the next one. You can create an account on the bottom. You see here, you can create an account, right? You have to say you're not a robot. Any email address, and you assign your own password, will work. Also, we have authentication with Google, right? So you could use your Google account, your Gmail account. If you don't have Gmail account, you can use any other email address to create yourself an account, remember your password and so forth. And on Google, just in case you don't know, is not only gmail.com, but you might have a business account that is on G Suite, like our company is on G Suite, like Masonry and InQI is on G Suite. So that's the Gmail account, right? Couple of things on the screen just to pay attention to this. Every time you come to this page, this image changes. Don't be concerned about it. It's just part of the way we designed it. You will see on the screen that it says, it has so far, it has 1,047 properties, and that is about 1,265 acres of land that's processed. So when you log in and you type in an address and you do your project, this becomes 1048. When I log in, put a project, it becomes 1049. So we are keeping count on how many properties has been processed. This is just a pre-release, about 100 users. Pretty good number of it is there. Some of it is me, of course. I'm using the system, and our people are using the system. But I want to bring your attention to one thing here. The first page. I know I'm probably talking too much, but just getting you to know it. Whenever we get a call, at our construction company, right? We get a call to, I wanted this project in the backyard. I want a pool. I want an ADU. I want an XYZ, right? What do we usually do before we having this? We go to some of us, we'll go to Google Maps and look around and say, okay, yeah, it looks like it's doable, whatever. More than likely, we would have to go to the site, right? To kind of get a feel for it, talk to the client, obviously, is important. and then do the measurements and site plans and so forth. That go back and forth is, let's say, 30 minutes, right? And let's say is 20 miles each way. So that's 40 miles. So by doing it through InQI, by managing it through InQI, you get all the information, even more than if you're there. I'll show you how. But by using InQI, I didn't have to do that 40 miles, right? Imagine 1,000 properties don't have to do 40 miles. How kind of saving that is, right? In an hour. That's 1,000 hours of saving, right? So have that in mind. Let's go through it. I'm going to log in with my user, one of my Google username. These are many that I have. The username that I'm logging into InQI is a foundation user. How do I know that? I go to my screen, right? I go to here to my screen, and my name and so forth, and it shows that I have a foundation edition. So that's one clue, and it has some statistics and so forth here. So the foundation, what's the difference of foundation? I will show you guys in a few minutes what the foundation is, and we go from there. You see that in this version, which is different than the release version, it looks a little different, but the concept is the same. Everything is a project. Like this is a project, right? Everything is a project. Everything starts with an address. You see up here, there's an address here, right? All right. What do you see on top? There's documentation. You can search the documentation, standard stuff. There is existing projects, asset gallery. We talk about it, and we're going to actually do one in there. So what is asset galleries? Asset galleries have to do with everything for a given project. You want to be in that project, right? Pictures, you want to have manuals, you want to have documentation. You can put it all into the same project. We'll talk about it. Plan collections are for the designer edition, so we're not going to talk about it much. Excuse me, let me drink something. Nothing like coffee in the morning, right? Anyways, let me check the users. No questions yet. All right, so let's go forward. What do we have here is this. We are going to go to Zillow. And the reason I have Zillow up is because I don't know all the addresses. So I just look for an address somewhere and then we talk about it, right? I'm sure you know. I remember a project and that. So let's go to Los Altos Hills. If you guys are local in our area, you know it's a nice place, right? Let's look at. Let's see. Let's look at what $13 million buys you in Los Altos Hills, right? And not all 13, 12,998. It's a bargain. The reason I'm using this is I use it for. It says it's new construction. It will be interesting to see what InQI will say about it. That's gonna be nice. Anyways, little bit of information here. It's been built. It's 1.1 acres. Good stuff. Good information, right? You know that is here. I just wanted to use the address. That's all. But let's use this address and see what it's going to look like. So you type in an address, it will find it. In this case, obviously, I copy pasted an address. I select it, and basically it would use the map. It will zoom into that location. That's the location. What you're looking at is a Google map view of it. And it looks like there was construction. You can see here on the screen, right? Whenever this Google map picture was taken, there was construction going on. Have in mind, as soon as I click create a project, that credit of mine, puff, credit gone. The credit is used for this. So let's use a credit. Now the credit is gone. And what it's going to do is going to start analyzing, collecting information. And I don't know, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, maybe that. I got all the information that I need of that project. There's all the information that we need on that project, right? Just becoming more familiar with the screen here. Images and documentation associated with this are 0. We'll talk about it. I'll have some samples. We just put it in. It's not from the site, obviously, but we'll put it in. You have a little menu system here, things that you can do, standard stuff, but just so that you know, there's no wrong click, right? We want you to click anywhere, and if you come up with problems, let us know. So I clicked on the image and it opened up. And remember that other picture that we looked at? It was construction, right? Now it's construction is finished because this picture that you're looking at is is recent. So how do we do that? You can see on the corners here, like in top, you can see in the corner, like around here, right? On this side, you can see that there is like a box within the bigger picture. That box is an aerial picture. It is an aircraft that goes on top and takes very detailed pictures. And what you see here is the Google view, and this was taken probably before that because you can see it was in construction mode. How do I know this is an older picture? Is because I have the date of the picture here, right? So this one was actually taken September 2nd of this year, so pretty recent. Now, if I toggle this off, it will show the old picture because it's what's available to public. Remember I talked about, oh, we can go to Google Maps and take a look at it. If you have gone to Google Maps and look at it, you will see that. And oh, you say, oh, this is under construction. But we have aerial picture and we have multiples of them, right? So this one goes all the way back to March of 2023. Using this data is important because if we use this data, what it would tells us, it would tells us more information about the project that we're working with, right? So that's one thing that we have to deal with. So we have that access. Let's look at what's on the screen. Let's look at the menu on the side. Elevation lines, you see all these little elevations, little tiny little elevations here. So that's showing. If you don't want it to show, you click and it won't show. Now, good question comes up, and before you guys ask it, I'll answer it. Where does this information come from? So, if you guys go to a county or to a city and ask them, I got this property, I want to do this and that to it, they bring up their GIS services, right? We have the same data. Is it accurate? Is as accurate as they have it, right? There's no difference. Is it really accurate? I guess. Nothing is really accurate, or nothing is as accurate as an official survey that you go and get. But you and I know official survey costs money. Something like this one, probably between $8,000 to maybe $12,000 worth of survey money. And it would take several weeks, if not months, to get it. By no means, this is an official survey. Don't make a mistake. We don't have the stamp power on it, right? But it is fairly accurate. How do I know that? Several things on every project, right? So when we look at a property, when we look at the picture, it's as if you're going to the site. When you go to the site, you look around and you say, okay, there is the gate, there is the fence, there is the house. So everything that you visually see tells you what the property looks like and where these boundaries might be like next to each other, right? So this is one of the important parts of this, is what you see is what you get. And it means that I can go correct things if I wanted to. So I can go in here and take a look, and my mouse is a little awkward. Sorry about that. So I look at this and I say, okay, it looks like, we are okay on this. This is Los Altos. I know it. We have a bunch of projects there. And when I look at the sites, looks like we are okay. This is the other house. The tree lines are fine. Looks like we are fairly on a decent size, right? So on this side. So if I happen to go to a site and I see that there is some differences, I can click on it once and I can move this around, right? I can move it up and down and I can correct it. This is no difference than what you do and you look at the site, but you're looking at it in computer world in the seconds, right? Let's talk about some of the other features that are there. Let me just zoom back in and so forth. So what is in the whole process? So let's talk about what we have. So we have the home screen, right? Home screen has a couple of things. This is called layers. So if I click on layers, it shows what layers are available to me as a foundation user to manage this process. So these are the foundation users, and I can enable a bunch of these. We'll come back to it. What you see is like highlighted or not allowed to be clicked on because my license in this user ID doesn't allow me to click on these things. The designer edition, you can design and work with an ADU structure, home and ADU. We have integration with planting and hydro zones. And we can define other objects. So it's kind of licensed to those, right? So you see what's available to you. You can click on, this is the foundation edition. Just have that in mind. We come back to this a little bit later on. Next thing, we have all the information about this project, right? So parcel numbers, zip codes, zoning is R1. That's one of the important things that we do in design, right? Is in the city of San Jose, is locality is Los Altos Hills and County Santa Clara. Again, where this information comes from is from the same system they use. Who the owners are is usually a trustee name. A bunch of information there is available to us. Now, this other section, it tells us what we can export out. Now let's talk about it. This button is the same button as here, right? So when I click on it as a user, a foundation user, I have access to only a site plan in the PDF mode and special report, which is my property report. We run these on this thing and we're going to get some data. We'll show each other. And also the most recent picture, right? What is grayed out is part of the license. Now, one of the things we added in here, you can get the entire parcel, all this dot, within the guidelines, or you can get a block of data. And the block of data might be, so this is outside, right? This area I'm pointing out outside. Maybe you want to have these elevations as part of your site plan. So you just drag a line and you have the entire line. Sometimes that is important from the roadside, so you can get access to it from the roadside and come back up. Now, the other things that you have access to are a few things. Let's talk about it in top. So setbacks, important part. So what you see on the screen is the property line. You see this line is the property line. It says this is site C and it's 287 feet long. And in Los Altos Hills, actually, I believe from the front you have like a 30 feet and no digging or something to that effect. So how do we define that, right? These are what's called, so we have the 5-foot setback, right? It's the standard setback most of the country. You can change this to 4 foot, 3 foot, 6 foot, you can type it in. But the custom setbacks are an important part of our work. Every single property could have its own custom setbacks. One could be dictated by the city, by the county, and so forth because of that specific property. The other one might be because of you, a designer or architect, or because of homeowners. Homeowner says, don't get close to this. I don't want you to touch this area, right? So let's talk about it. A custom setback in this screen is from the property lines, right? Where are the property lines? The property lines are what you see, C, B, A, and D, right? So let's say in Los Altos Hills, we have a 25-foot setback of no digging, from the front. So what I do in that scenario, I'll go and define a custom setback. I will say it is on a D axis, right? So D, and there you can see there's a D axis here, right? So I'll put it on a D and I say no digging. You can name it whatever you want. And I put in at 20 feet and select it. So what it would do, you notice that they put no digging at 20 feet here, right? I believe there's also side setbacks of 20 feet. Let's just define those as well. So I'm going to go and put one on C. And this is no digging or no structure. Just call it no digging. And that's 20. So yeah, it's, see, it's right at the edge. And being a newly built home, probably that's exactly where it's at. It might be 25, but I think 20 is right. Let's put one also on A. And I think it's on all 4 sides. But let's just go define that. I'll put one on A, on no digging, which is 20. I'll put that in. So that's 20, no digging. And then there's also one on B. And like I said, you can define as many as you like, right? And there is other things too. Let's call this no digging. And that is also 20. So basically, we were able to define all of the various aspects of it and put it in place now, right? Now, actually, I noticed something here. I put it on D again. Last one. I wanted to put it on B. So let me go. Actually, good way of looking at it. I'm going to delete it. And I'm going to go put it back on the B axis. No digging. And I put that at the 20. There we go. And now that's no big. Now I can always go and say, don't show this one, right? You know, if I don't want to show it. No, good point on this one. Like I said, you know, in this calls, I just remember things. This application is a humongous application. It can do a lot of things. So as I remember things, I'll pop it in. You guys can play with it and figure things out. We developed this thing as called what you see is what you get, right? It's a computer thing, you know, it's a programming thing. What you see is what you get is exactly that. What you see on the screen is what you're going to get as an output in the prints or as you see on the screen. So I can hide things if I wanted to, but that's that. So now I have defined all of my different setbacks and so forth. You know, I have my elevations and all that. Now, a couple of things I want to do here to make things a little bit better. What do we do? So I know that this one, because I'm looking at it, right? I know I'm looking at it, or I went to the side and looked at it. This one is the house. So I'm going to click on it. And I basically put in the name for it, main house. So this became the main house. You can see it out here, right? It has an object ID. It shows how many square footage it is. And it has a bunch of information. Now, maybe you have a setback on the whole house. You can activate it. I'm not going to do that. It's going to be a very long webinar out of that. So this one, for the look of it, it looks like it is not a roof, but it is a pergola, right? It's some kind of a shade structure. Move it aside. Yeah, it is some kind of shade structure of a sort. Or is it? No, actually, it is. No, it is shade structure. You can see it here, right? So we're going to put it back in, and I'm going to kind of close it here a little bit. I'm going to put this, we're going to call it a pergola. And when you go to the side, you can see this is definitely a garage. There's no question about that. And I'm going to put this as a garage. There we go. And then we also have an existing roof line here. So on this one, we'll call this, I think I've seen the pictures of this thing. So again, I'm going to call this an ADU. So if you're defining elements on the process, you can see a little walking path here too as well. So we're defining elements that we can use here. Now, as we have defined this, the next level is, so what else can this thing do for me, right? Now, setbacks we talked about, exports we are going to talk about, but let's talk about some of the other things, you know, we talked about here. So this area again that you see, it says designer feature, not available to you. We have another webinar that will talk about it on that side, so that's not a problem. Now let's talk about either clicking on this one, which is layers, or clicking on this one, which is layers. Doesn't matter. So I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to enable whatever you can enable is the system would either recognize it or the system, or you can draw it, you know, you can do it, or both, you know, you can recognize it, you delete it out, you do your own. But it has to be a layer that is enabled. It's similar to AutoCAD and other things, right? But there is recognition built into this. So I'm going to say, recognize the pool, right? I want to have the pool. I want to say, I want to see label and area, right? I want to look at, let's look at lawn and grass area, right? Let's use these two for now. And then we talk about the other ones a little bit. You get the idea. You know, again, going through all of it will take a long time. So what we did is we enabled the pool. Look, it found the pool. It says 810 square foot of the pool. And if you zoom into it, it actually did a pretty good job marking it, right? You know, it found it. So this, you got the pool. Now let's go look at the grass area, right? So this found it as a grass area, but the recognition of it was not as accurate as we want it to be. You can see it, right? You know, it's got a little curve in here and so forth. We can do two things. I can click on it once. If you click on an object once, you change the entire object back and forth, right? Or I can click on it twice, right? When I click on it twice, it gives me points on that object. if I go to a point, I can drag the point and correct it, as you can see I do. Or these larger points, I right click on it, it goes away, right? If I right click on it, it goes away. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to correct this and I'm going to correct this, right? There is many ways I can do that, right? So basically, just like before, I can correct all this. And I'm going to delete that one, right click on that one. And basically that's what I can do. Or what I can do is say, you know what, it looks like it might be an easier way for me to do it. I can just draw it. Now I'm going to press the delete button. I'm going to use the grass area right here, right? The grass area. I'm going to draw it as a polygon because I can. It's much easier for me now. The object is available. What I'm drawing is an object that is a grass object. And have in mind, I could be going to the site, I can kind of see it on my tablet and I can do it on my tablet and managing it on my tablet. So I would do that. I would do this, 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 this. Oh, I didn't click. This, 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 and this. And I guess I didn't click here, so let me just correct that. I click once, click twice. I'm going to fix this part. I'm going to fix this part. And looks good a little bit here. I'm going to fix that part. Yeah, a little bit here as well. So I'm going to fix that part as well. Right. Okay. Now I have lawn 4. Now we found some stuff here because it was low enough. Now it's done lawn. I delete it. Like what you see is what you get. Like I delete this one as well. Front, I say I don't care about it. So what I'm doing is I'm developing what matters to me on my site plan, right? This backyard project, let's say. I'm deleting the front one stuff, right? Now, the lawn, I always have, I'll go in and click save, but the lawn itself is there. But let me go in and say, you know what? Also on the lawn, I want to make sure that I have the labor area as well, right? So I enable that. So 3,000 square foot of lawn, that's a lot of lawn, California. What was it, $12 million house, I guess? So I guess they can afford to have that kind of lawn. All right, so we have that. Now, for the designers out there, I'm sure the next question is, if I was going to put a lawn, how much of a edging do I need, right? That's the next thing you want to know. So everything, the data is there. You just got to know where to click. So I'll click on this one. Actually, I'll go into here. And one of the objects is display dimensions here. On the lawn one, I'm going to enable it. I'm going to go back. And if you look close enough, let me see if I can zoom. Yeah, you can see 27. There is like 68. So it's there, right? It's just a matter of, I'm using a very big screen here. So I have all the dimensions in here. Now let's go and talk about another element. The pool we already got. There is some hardscape in here, right? So usually in the design things for the outside, stuff matters like hardscaping and so forth. So I go to this and I create a hardscape, right? And let's say we want the total square footage as well. That's something we want to have. So we go back in and we notice that the system, because it's working on that boundaries of the property, recognize whatever we wanted to recognize, whatever he thinks is hardscape. It's actually done a decent job recognizing, right? But we don't want this one. We're not focusing on that. I'm going to click on delete. I'm going to click on delete. This is a co-pilot, so we just want the stuff that we want to see. Now, you might say, so what, it has so many errors? Well, it does. It's a computer. Again, remember that co-pilot is just that, is co-pilot. It's not the pilot. So it's helping you see things that you might not have seen, right? Or helping you define things a little easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go delete these things out because my mouse acted again, because I want to define it myself, because it's one of those things where in my case, and you get the hang of it too, we're good at some things and I can do this, pretty quickly, without having to do computer stuff, right? Same thing with me. So let's say this is a backyard project and I'm going to look it up. I'm going to zoom in here and I am going to bet that we are looking at some kind of a concrete path or DG path over here, but these are definitely concrete paths, right? Or again, have in mind, I could be going to the site and mark these things up, in my mind. Oh, there's a little hardscape here. We don't need that. I'm going to delete that one. Now, I have now hardscape available here because I enabled it in this layer, right? My mouse keeps jumping up and down, but that's fine. It's one of those mouse that you touch it differently, it's supposed to do something differently. But anyways, so what I'm going to, and it has the object here, it says concrete, but let's just go define this. So I'm going to define, I can define these paths individually or as one. I'm going to do it as one, just saving myself a little time. I'm going to say polygon. I can do this, or I can do individually. I'm going to just do one individually so you guys can see it. So I'm going to do that. So it's one individually, like 52 square foot is that one. Or I'm going to go here and I'm going to define the entire pad. And usually, as you guys all know, is like 3 inches, 4 inches in between. No, I didn't click again. And we go there. And this is that. So when I click on it, it shows me the number, the object ID. I can say pads, let me type in right, pads by pool. Becomes pads by pool, 399 square foot of that. You understand what we're trying to do. We are getting things, ideas here. We have some materials IDs that you can put in, right? We have all these IDs here that you can put in. It can be asphalt or concrete. You notice that the assets are disabled here. This is going to be in the designer edition. You can put pictures and stuff in there. So you can't put any assets in there. But as we define things, we get our project defined. We basically put things together. And once we define this, then all we need to do, remember, we always need to do a save, right? It's just one of those things that we learned back in high school, right? Always click on the save button. Now, we can enable, setbacks on these things, a whole lot of things. I'm not gonna give you a headache on how these things will work. But let's talk about what we can do now that we have defined our project, either recognized or otherwise, right? We've defined this backyard, a couple of elements or all of them. Now, have in mind that, for example, I can go in and say, show me the existing tree lines, right? Tree drip lines. So I can find all the tree lines, right? I can put all that. I can go in here and say, show me the tree trunks. So it goes in and it finds the tree trunks. There's the tree trunks here identified. So there is many options you can have. So let's just leave it at that because I want to show you a couple other options. You can adjust things. All that stuff matters, right? All the stuff is here. I'm going to go to export. After I do this, then we call it this webinar. There's a lot more options to it, but you get the idea how you can enable it. That's the critical part, right? So I'm going to select the PDF that's available to me. I want to select the property report, and I want the latest picture. Now, you can email it to me if I wanted to, or sidewise, but let's just export it. Now, critical part, right? Imagine if you had to go to the site and, old school measuring it. You would, all that stuff. It would take a long time. We've been here for like 20 minutes, probably talking a lot, right? I'm going to say after I did this, you can do this whole thing in a few minutes. Request an export. Is going to go in and start generating a site plan for me, like really a site plan, as you guys know it. All the data is on there, all the elevations in there. And basically, as it generates it, it will basically pop out and say, I generated, these are your tickets, these are your numbers. And in past, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds is actually going through this. Remember, this was like a 1 acre lot, I think, 1.1 acre. So it's pretty large size property, in our area, in Northern California, in Bay Area, actually. There we go. We got the reports. Now let's go take a look at reports. This is an image. This is just an image. Let's start with that. I'm going to download it, downloads here, and email gets sent out to you as well. We look at it. There is the image, right? This is that latest picture, right? The one on, I think it was September 2nd, right? Pretty nice picture of the project. Could come in handy. So that was the picture. let's look at the site plan. What you see is what you get. So let's look at the site plan. We click on it, the site plan is downloaded. Let's take a look at it in a browser mode. And there is the site plan. So basically the site plan is highlighted, all the parameters are there, all the screens are there, the elements that we draw is in there, and it is to the scale. You can see the scale on top, and you can see some guidelines. So it is a site plan that you can use. So much information are here, so it is available to you to use. Now, one difference here that we might as well highlight, you notice that the DXF is not included in the foundation. That is an AutoCAD format, and that's going to be available in the designer and higher levels, right? That's what we're doing there. Now let's look at the property report. What is a property report? Download it. Let's take a look at it. So the information that we know on the property and also gathered and analyzed, we present to you in the property report. So all the who owns it, the zip, the zoning and so forth, some of the evaluations and all that stuff that is there. We also include in this report, as you see on the screen, an evaluation analysis highlights. So how are these horizontal and vertical evaluations are changing, right? So it comes in handy when you're designing things. It's a report. Gives you the minimum, maximum, and minimum evaluation report. We also give you steepness analysis, right? So, the lighter the color, the more likelihood of a cheaper build because it's flat. And the areas that are darker in color, there is some elevation. So that's a steepness report. We give you the roofs that we have found, right? And we give you conditions of the roof, potential problems that might be with them. Just have in mind that, remember, we marked that pergola as a structure, as a roof, but it's not. We know that, right? Again, this is a helper, so you have to verify the data that is there. We also give you the ability to see how much solar you can generate from those roof lines if you wanted to do that. So basically on the foundation, just to recap, and then we open up to questions if people have questions. On the foundation, what we have, I'll go back here. What we have is the ability that starts every project with an address. An address is a project. And once you start the project and the address, you use 1 credit per address. You have the ability to have existing projects. This is the one we did. You go back to it and you manage it. Images and asset galleries and plant and all that, that's in the designer edition. We'll have a webinar coming up in a couple of days, which I will record and post as well. It is not all there, as far as being ready to release, but you will see that it's there. So what we have done is that now we have 2 versions of InQI. One is the foundation, which you just saw. And then we have taken a couple of options out of it, like the AutoCAD export and so forth. And in the designer edition, you'll have a whole lot of options, including those. So you might ask, what is the difference, or why would you do that? Eventually, it will be priced differently, for sure. So your needs in the future might be that all I need is the PDF and my property report, and I'm good to go, right? And so you buy the license for the foundation. You might be a homeowner. I know, throughout my years, whenever I bought a house, I was always curious about it. You can have your own site plan. It's not many people can afford to, or even want to get a survey, but they can have that. The property report is there and so forth. So that's the foundation part. There will be a whole bunch of things that we can talk about, but let's open up to questions. Nadine, if you don't mind, let me know if there are any questions, and I'll look in the screen here to see if we got anything. As you guys go through it, it took us, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I appreciate the time you spend with us, but we're going to have a lot more of these. We're going to have some use cases and so forth, and I'll invite all you guys back in if you guys want to join in. And we go through it. Oh, there is a question here. How big of the property can be managed? It's a good question. We have done large properties, but let's go try it, right? Let's go try one. There is this place that I like to go to. It's called Darius Winery. It is in Napa, so I'm just using to find the address. It is pretty large property, right? So if you guys are up here and do go there, they got really nice stuff. I don't know if you know or not. We probably guessed. I'm Persian by background, so Darius Winery is Darius was one of the kings of Persian Empire, and he liked a lot of wine. So let's type in the address. This is, I think it's Jane. What's the question? So that's the property, right? So same thing. I have credit. So I click, my credit just gets used, right? So it's going to go in. It might take a little longer because it's a larger property. So it's going to analyze it. It's going to bring information. It's like 6 images. It's bringing down. Is extracting features. It is, as you can see, it's taking a little longer than the property that was 1 acre. So this, I think, is like 30 acres or something. We'll find out, 20 or 30 acres. So it's gathering information. The servers run on AWS servers, so it's pretty powerful. But it's got more information to collect. And there it is. I don't know, 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. So let's open it up. And as you open it up, you see the data. So it's zoomed in, right? It's zoomed into that. So I'm going to go, let's just expand, and there we go. So it's pretty large property, all the winery stuff that is there, right? Let's take a look at the information. So that's the information. Oh, yeah, 31 acres, right? 31.3 acres right there, right? And belongs to Darius Winery and so forth, right? So 30 acres, we're good, on that side. Why can't we do more? I mean, we have done more. I'm not going to run it here, but I've run the Apple headquarters here, and we found it. It came out, it was pretty big. And it has a lot of structures, right? So then the time will take a little longer. But have in mind, what system in the world allows you to do 30 acres of site plan in the amount of work that I did? There is none. This is it. This is the site plan that it can work that easily. So if you're doing a project for here, this is your site plan. I would assume, I don't know, I assume a property survey for something like this will take months, maybe 30 or 40 grand. It's just a lot of property to survey it. But, we have that data. There's value in here. So to answer your question in a long way, I'm sorry. It's yes, we can. So this is 31 acres. I think we can go up to about 50 acres. We can go bigger, but we have limited that because then, well, first of all, it's for free right now. People get excited and type in, I don't know, an address of Yosemite Park, and the system starts chugging away, right? We don't want to do that. So that's on that one. Any other questions? Let's see. There's a question. If we get foundation, can we upgrade to designer edition? Yes, you can. We don't know the details of how that could work right now. Like right now, both of them are for free. So more than likely, you guys are going to get into designer edition when it's released because it's the same. It's more for free basically. But in the future, when they get priced, they're going to get priced differently. So the one that is foundation edition will be more cost reasonable, and the designer will have will be more expensive. And we will have to figure out a path to upgrade. I'm sure. I don't know the details yet, but I'm sure we can do that. Any other questions? So the question is this available for the user or project? I am not sure if I understand it, but let me explain how the licensing works. The licensing is to that user. Like I logged in, so I got in as a user. You log in and you get it as a user. The way it works is uh, there is a project, there is an address. The address that we put in is the project. That project is what gives you what you look in the screen. This, I could have burned that one project that I had on, or used that one project that I had on this winery. It's a still project. Doesn't matter if it's 30 acres or not. So right now it's a project base, and there will be price a little different between foundation and the designer. When it becomes available, we'll let everybody know. That's not a problem. Another question. Do all the addresses in the country work the same? Yes and no. Well, let me explain what I mean by that. So, yeah, let's go try it out so we can see. So let's go and like I use the good old Zillow. I'm going to look at Key West, Florida. Key West. Two words. Key West, Florida. Let's find some addresses there, right? There's Key West. Lovely place. I was there for my couple meetings not long ago. Let's look at, oh, there's a $4.6 million house. Let's see what $4.6 million house gets you in Key West, Florida. That's nice. There's definitely more water in Florida than is in California. That's for sure. So I'll copy the address. Again, I'm using it for address. I'll go in here and I was going to show you what the difference is. We'll type it in. Again, everything is an address to us, right? And this time we'll turn it all around and go to the most southern part of the country. That's the one, about $5 million. Create a project. Excuse me. Tiny little property. We've got the information pretty fast. All right, we open it. So in Key West, Florida, that's tiny, but but it's in Key West. So found the lower elevation is probably flat, but you can see it's pretty small elevation. And same concept. There's a lot of greenery and so forth. Let's take a look at. So you see this? That's the difference, right? Remember the one that we're looking at here in Los Altos Hills? The date was September 2nd, right? 2024. The pictures on this one are November of 2023. Why that is the case? One of the differences is there's the smaller the cities, there's not enough aircraft going over them. The type that take pictures, there are a lot of aircraft going over. So there is some limitation of data that we have to deal with throughout the country, but it works in almost everywhere. So as an example, we go in here. Let's go to Boise, Idaho, right? Where Hewlett Packard is there. I used to work for HP, so I kind of know. Let's go to Boise, Idaho, and everything is expensive these days. I didn't know there would be $4 million house in Boise, Idaho, but I guess there is. Let's take a look. So we get to Boise, Idaho. Let me just get the address again. I'm grabbing addresses, right? And that's the one I'm using Zillow. And I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to use another credit. Click on it, and as I clicked on it, go zoom in and say, is that what it is? It should have good elevation stuff. But yeah, go and create. So it's going to go create, and full warning, sometimes we pop out a message because we don't have enough data. So if you see that, that means we're going to give you credit back. We don't burn the credit. But that gives you the information, and as you go to here, now we have the process created here. Yeah, good size elevations, right? We can see it here. Nice size property. For what is it, $4 million? Yeah, almost $4.2 million. So good size. Oh, it's got an easement. So it's definitely got an easement because you can see it here. But what we're going to check is see how late is the information that we have. Is actually was 6/20 of 2024, so even more than Key West, Florida, right? So have in mind, yes, it's available to the country, but the data sets that we have might be a little different. Now, on that point, one thing to have in mind, if it's newly developed home, especially here in California, we're seeing it now with these new zoning requirements or zoning availability. You can get a big property and cut it into pieces and have two properties. The data might not be updated into the systems that we use to collect the data. So we might have older data. It might pop an error. So anytime there is something you don't know about, it doesn't look right, let us know. We have systems to check in and we can give you the information. Let's see if there's another information here. Will it work in Canada? Not right now. So maybe late 2025. The reason is that some of the data, obviously different countries, some of the data is a little different than what we have. Currently, we are focusing all in the United States. We're not doing anything in Canada. Another question: will it work in Hawaii? Yes, it should. It's part of the United States. So actually, I'm curious now. Let's go see what data we have. Let's go and look at Maui. Maui, Hawaii. Let's check that. I'm sure stuff is expensive there. Let's look at $7.45 million house. Not that expensive for Hawaii. Well, compared to the Bay Area, nothing's expensive. I'm sure. Excuse me. Let me go type in the address. Take a look about it. It goes all the way to Hawaii. Lovely place to be. Oh, you found it. Yeah, it's there by the ocean. Wow, look at the blue waters. Now, full disclosure, I might get an error because I'm not sure if we have enough data, but let's take a look. Yeah, I got an error. So it says we do not have adequate data for this address at the moment. What does that mean? That means that the data sources we have are not as updated for that location. So Hawaii is not probably a focused area for businesses, and so forth. So have that in mind. There are some limitations, but I'm sure, as we all know, over a period of time, there's going to be a lot of data that's going to get collected and it's going to get there. All right. So any other messages? Can we use our own survey? I'm assuming you have done a survey. You want to bring it into the system. In the Foundation Edition, no. Foundation Edition is not going to have. But in Designer Edition, we are working on a process where you can bring in your own survey and use it. So yeah, you can do that. That's available. Another question here. Will the DXF be available in the Foundation? No, it will not. And when we release it, the DXF output, which is the AutoCAD output, will not be available in the Foundation. It will be designer and up. You have to have AutoCAD or a compatible system to bring it in anyways. Have in mind, Foundation is Foundation is for a very simple thing, data that you need for a site plan. And most of you guys who are designers and architects, you probably want a designer level up. Foundation is could be useful for various smaller designs and maybe for homeowners. That's the difference between the two. That is there. And seems like we are done with questions. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Just so that everybody will know, please have in mind that we want to make sure that everything that we do is managed by giving you access to it. We are here to help. So if you have any questions, there are places you can open a ticket or send me an email. We are providing this free to you guys. Please do use it. Please do take advantage of it. And we really, really appreciate it if you guys will send us feedback. Can this work this way? Can I have that? We are really about trying to make this work the way you want to make it work. That's how it works. Thank you again for your time. It took a little longer than I assumed it would take, but the good thing is when it's recorded and posted, you can go forward fast if you want to, as a reference. Again, thank you for your time, and we'll look forward in seeing you in next sessions, or you can always do one-on-one with me if you have any questions. Thank you. Bye-bye.